How's it hanging, fellers? Let's check out some more of these clips, right?
I'm a 33rd degree Freemason. I get a copy of the New World Order every month so I can vote on the things I want to stay the same and the things I want to change. I'm going to tell y'all this, but I know y'all not going to believe me. Antarctica is a freezer. And I know y'all going to be like, we know it's a freezer. It's always cold. No, it's a man-made freezer. The reason why it's made to be so cold year-round is because there are titans or kaijus that live miles and miles underneath the ice. And they believe that those frigid temperatures will keep those titans and kaijus completely immobile from carrying out what people would believe is Armageddon or the last days. So the government strategically places polar bears all throughout Antarctica, which is why polar bears are one of the few mammals that actively hunt and consume human beings. So when y'all see glaciers falling or polar caps melting, it's actually those titans trying to escape. And the main reason why they put pigeons in every major city is because
Well, I'd like to know. I didn't think polar bears were at Antarctica. I thought they were only like in the north. I could be wrong on that. Uh, yeah, I don't know if I believe this guy. Maybe I don't know. I know there's those like map photos of what looks like a dragon head or something sticking out.
At the idea of a time traveler until reality started acting like one. This is Declassified Psychic. John Teeter showed up on the internet in 1998 and claimed CERN would crack time travel using miniature black holes. And not eventually, and not vaguely, he named CERN specifically. And I don't know, that seems unsafe. But, I'm just a medium. I do have questions though. And then in 2012, CERN fired up the Large Hadron Collider, announced they were creating miniature black holes, and then found what they called the God particle. So a man who claimed to be from the year 2036 named the exact organization that said they were going to do the exact thing at the exact time. And then they did it. In what world is that not worth talking about? And then 2012 is also the same year everybody started collectively feeling like time was speeding up. Not because we're getting older, not because we're more stressed. It's collective, it's documented, it's global. Earth's electromagnetic frequency, which is called the Schumann resonance, has been sitting at 7.83 hertz since we basically started measuring it. Then 2012 happened, and it starts spiking to 36 hertz and higher. And scientists are still not entirely sure why. They kind of just moved on from that. That's scary. And then the Mandela effect started kicking in. More people started noticing them. There were more examples of them. More documented cases of misremembering of realities that all accelerated in 2012. The same year CERN found the God particle. The same year they admitted they were making black holes. The same year a man from 1998 said this would start happening. I'm not saying those things are connected. I'm also not saying those things are connected. Now, I'm a medium. I'm not a physicist. That's not a belief system for me. That's just a Tuesday. And what CERN was poking at in 2012, the fabric of what makes reality feel like reality, that is the exact territory I navigate every single day without a $17 billion machine, which feels a little unfair, but that's fine. John Teeter said consciousness picks the timeline. CERN spent $17 billion trying to understand what timelines are made of. And in 2012, something shifted and everyone felt it. Nobody's been able to fully explain it since. Find the rest of the series on my page. It's gonna get so much weirder.
I do think something shifted in 2012. I don't know, like they messed with something. I that John Teeter, I don't know much about him, but didn't he get some stuff wrong too? I think it was him. Said would I think I actually got a clip on it. Hold on, let me see.
Out World War. Keep in mind, he said there's a 1 to 2% difference. On a grand scale of like eternity, a 1 to 2% difference is a huge difference. It's possible he was just really early on these predictions for our current timeline. Maybe it happens in different times in all different timelines, you know? I just want people to open their mind about it. I don't know if this is supposed to be civil war between like the right and the left, between races maybe. Is it civil war between like us, the people, and the government? It kind of sounds like from what he's talking about that that's really what he meant. But he said there's some type of civil war in the United States, and it basically with the rest of the world, that it launches a full World War III, and it's a nuclear war. Now, what I thought was interesting, he said that if we had nuclear war, it would be with Russia and China, but apparently these nuclear weapons aren't quite as destructive as the current ones that we have. And he said 3 billion people would die from this war, which is just insane. He was living in a time where after the war was over and people are going through a recovery time, and that everything changed, and that on a grand scale of humanity, the nuclear war was the best thing to ever happen to people. John said that by then there's kind of like a militia in the United States where everyone's part of it. It makes me wonder if this is true, are my future kids gonna be like forced to fight in some type of militia? I think it's really interesting that right now civil war, like it's like one of the most Googled things, and it makes like our current climate, I could see how it could end up in a civil war. But are they true? Because he was really off on the dates. We're here in 2017 and nothing has happened yet. So you have to remember that. He said that pretty much every nation got involved in this war. He basically was saying that Russia started the World War III by bombing cities in the United States against the government, the U.S. government, and John was on the other side of that. Makes me think the U.S. government and control, maybe people get more and more woke over the years, and government versus the people, and that Russia steps in to help the people. People would ask about global warming, and he would say that the ice caps aren't melting any faster than they're currently melting now. Another thing he talked a lot about was mad cow disease, which never really became like a big issue. But it is really interesting to note there are scientific studies, there are scientists who believe mad cow disease, or basically beef poisoning, could be some of the diseases that we have now that we call other things and we don't know is necessarily mad cow disease, one of them being Alzheimer's. So he said in the future pretty much everything was decentralized. Money, he said there's still money, credit cards, banks, everything, but there's not like a Federal Reserve controlling everything. He said music, people go away from electronic music, because I always thought in the future it'd be more electronic, but he says that it would actually be less and people would be using instruments and using it as more of a community healer. He said in 2036 we would have better health care, that it would be a lot more like the Western countries now. The only thing he said was different is that you would have a lot more house calls and home doctors than we're used to. Another really interesting thing is he said that mass media is going to kind of go down and I see that happening. I mean, I think more and more people are realizing that mainstream news is barely talking about the fires in California, for instance. There's so much more information in other places and other sources. John basically says in the future we figure out that mass media and everything that we have is like a bunch of BS. Now we really turn to online creators. And remember, this is in 2000 that he was saying this. He was saying that in the future, people will be uploading their own entertainment onto the internet. How back then could you have any idea what a content creator on YouTube would be, or an influencer?
That's actually really interesting. I hadn't watched this clip yet. But then I think they said that his predictions, right, were for the year 2013, I think, when when the war happened, right? But if they changed stuff in 2012, maybe he didn't know about that, or you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe through that, they said they got that looking glass thing so they could see the future, but they couldn't see after 2023, or I forget, something like that. So maybe they messed with something, so all this happens later on than what he said. I don't know. That's and then the whole content creator thing, and he said this, you get your news off the internet like this. I mean, that's pretty interesting. I mean, he said that back in 2000. And it sounds like a lot. I mean, that would really suck if 3 billion people, perished. But the stuff he was talking about, like the life after, I think that sounds better. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to listen to more of what this guy said.
From other countries that we're not being told, but they are being told. One is that Germany has considered America officially unsafe to travel to. Canada doesn't consider our medical research valid anymore. They say it's considered as untrue because of the political affiliation with our educational system. Other countries think that we'll no longer be having any elections and that this is how it's going to be for the rest of our lives. Other countries consider us not a first world country anymore based on freedom of press, freedom of expression, our education, and political freedoms. North Korea states that we're going too far. Let that one sink in. Romania is allegedly no longer allowed to ship anything to the United States because they consider it unsafe. And then this one had me really freaked out. The Dutch have officially considered that Trump is more dangerous than Hitler. This is only the beginning of the end to the illusion though. So I'm really not trying to impose fear on anybody. It's more just that anything that wasn't on solid ground must fall before it can be rebuilt. It's like the tower moment for the new earth.
I don't know what that last bit she was talking about, but that's interesting. I think the leaders in every country are all like part of it, but you keep hearing about this stuff about other countries saying pretty wild stuff about the U.S. I mean, I'm in the U.S., but um, that's interesting. Now this next clip that I'm about to play, it's I forgot what it's called. It's like I forgot. It's like they say they are able to look into the past and record it. Now I'm definitely not convinced this is real, but I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. I think it says the name on it. Hold on. Yeah, Chronovisor, whatever. This is supposed to be Noah's Ark. Now I'm definitely not convinced of this, for like multiple reasons, but I don't know. The dude's walking a tiger. I know people can train tigers, but I don't know. What do you think? I'd say probably not. I mean, I don't know. Does anybody know if this is from like a movie or anything, like an old movie? It might be. I know they used to make a lot more, Christian type movies, like way back in the day. I don't know. What do you think? I'd say probably not real. Probably from an old movie, but I could definitely be wrong. So tell me what you think in the comments. By the way, I appreciate all your guys' comments.
No reason why the US stopped making pennies out of copper back in 1982? Because I can assure you that it had nothing to do with the cost of copper increasing. Back in 1982, US stopped making pennies out of copper due to pricing increases with the value of copper itself, right? But back in 1982, the price of copper only cost like 60 to 80 cents per pound. Translates to less than a cent per gram. And I mean like way less than a cent per gram, 0.000013. Like that's how far away we are. And if a penny weighs less than a gram, that would mean that the price of copper had nothing to do with the reason why they stopped using it. If anything, they were significantly under that value of copper itself. Now, the Epstein files actually play a part in this, because it released some critical information that's going to contribute to what I'm about to say. There was a document released in the Epstein files that talked about EMF monitoring and basically the use of EMF, which is electromagnetic fields, to manipulate people, make them feel things, cause schizophrenia. Like it's really bad. They're doing a lot with EMF. And it's not just Epstein who is doing it. I prefer to live, so I'm not gonna say exactly who uses EMF on us, but it's pretty much everyone in the country. So, but do you know what stops EMF and is a very good blocker and protectant? Copper. Do you know when our government started testing cognitive things like EMF and, controlling people with their mind back in the 1950s. So that was almost 20 to 30 years before this. With enough research and development, which they totally could have done in that time period, they realized that copper was a conductor. It can act as a shield, especially when it comes to reflecting and absorbing electromagnetic energy, especially at really high frequencies. And yeah, this includes radio waves. So the real question is, did the government stop making pennies out of copper because it cost too much? Or did they stop making pennies out of copper because some pretty powerful people realized that it blocked and reflected EMF waves and frequencies? Wow, I feel like Shane Dawson right now.
I wouldn't doubt it. Frequencies, radio waves, all that. I definitely think they're doing something to mess with us. Like, I've got fiber internet we just had hooked up. It's got the 6G or whatever, and it's probably just hitting me with waves. There's a box right here, so it's probably just hitting me the whole time. A little worried about it, but what was I gonna say? Like, people with schizophrenia and all that. I do think a lot of it's probably from like the food we eat, or like the medicine, or just the radio waves, frequencies, all that. I think it probably is affecting us. I don't know. It might, it very well could be something else. Could be a combination of all this stuff. I don't know. But, yeah. What do you think?
The question is this even possible? Is it possible that X building was built in the 1890s, and they're giving us timeline to like a year? It was built in a year. They want us to believe we didn't have the technology, that we were low tech, and yet we're building all of these amazing structures. This disparity between what the narrative says and what's actually there.
You have places, cities in America that look as though they were constructed in medieval Europe, when nothing was here and people showed up and just got started building, from what we're told. One would assume that they would build with the means that were available to them. Wood, nails if they were lucky. What we get is this narrative that people were showing up and really making do with what they had.
What we learned about in school is there was nothing here. This land was free for the taking. The only inhabitants were wild Indians, and we built everything here. Everything you see in this country, in North America, because we're talking about Canada too, was built by us. After we got here, nothing here. But they had to change the narrative. They had to destroy the evidence.
Yeah, I definitely think, we were lied to about history, 100%. I tell you what, if you want to see a great channel that I've been watching a lot for a while, and for multiple reasons. Like, if you don't believe that we're in the little season right now, you check out this channel and actually, go to it with an open mind. It's Jason Jack on YouTube. It's like the best little season channel that I have seen, for sure. And he preaches the gospel, or he actually says it right. It's because you can't work for your salvation. You know what I mean? Like, it's all on what Christ did for us. Like, people confuse that and the whole license to sin thing when they don't even understand. It's a catchphrase. Anyways, it really bugs me, and I can go on about that for a long time. Because like the people that say, if any of you are these people, just realize you can't work for your salvation. Because Matthew chapter 7, Jesus says what's going to happen to the people that think they can. The Lord, did we not prophesy in thy name, cast out devils in thy name, and do many wonderful works, right? And he will say that he never knew them, right? That's because they were trusting in their works, not on Christ, right? They called him Lord, right? They but they weren't trusting in on what he did, right? And they weren't doing the will of the Father, which John chapter 6 verse 40 says what the will of the Father is. It's to believe on the Son. Anyways, it bugs me that these people that think you can work for your salvation, they use that as some proof for their argument when it's literally talking about them. That's who it's talking about. But anyways, yeah. Here.
Time travel, baby. An update on the time traveler?
On TikTok?
Yeah.
Remind me.
Okay, remember that young guy walked into the shed?
Oh,
Came out old.
Some people took a picture of the old man that walked out. They did like a reverse image search of him, and this man popped up. His name is Stephen Albert Miller. I looked up his LinkedIn. Nothing crazy. Graduate of Harvard University, and he ran a website page called nukewatch.org. He had done different questions in it asking about time travel, different dimensions, where he like posted just like really random obscure pictures. It almost seems like cryptic. Yeah, and that was posted in 2009. But then he has an obituary to where he died in 2018. It's weird. So it could not be him, or it's probably not, more than likely.
It's just weird that this dude is on the internet with history, going through all these weird things, and then he becomes accused of being a time traveler against his will.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Learning stuff new every day.
Read about it.
I don't know. What do you think? You think? I know I've seen that clip before. You think that guy? You know, what do you think that's about? I don't know. Maybe he's a time traveler. Maybe. I don't know. I think there's a lot more that we don't know. But I believe we'll know one day. Anyways, that's the last clip I got. I appreciate you watching. You're awesome. God bless you and your families. Bye.